Dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to you all. Welcome to our show, Scholar Alab, with Dr. Fiza Qureshi, who is currently serving as an assistant professor, IBA University of Sindh, Hyderabad, Pakistan. She is also working as a research fellow, University of Economics, Vietnam. Dr. Fiza Qureshi will be joining us from Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, her area of research includes financial markets, exchange rate, commodities, FDIs, and many more. She has published many journal articles in indexed in ACCI and Scopus. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Fiza Qureshi, who will be joining us from Hyderabad, Pakistan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mehfooz. First of all, I'm highly grateful to you for giving me an opportunity to share my experience and takeaways from PhD. And I'm truly honored and humbled to join as a guest speaker in today's session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining, and thank you very much for your time, especially with the Friday. Normally we have weekend. I mean, we have holiday, and then you had time to join with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very delighted to have Dr. Fiza Qureshi with us. So the first thing that we would be wanted to know about your childhood. About I came to know that you born and brought up in Hyderabad, Pakistan, and then I'm sure you had a wonderful schooling and college time. So would you like to share a bit about your journey?
Okay, I had a mediocre academic career, honestly speaking. The schooling was, it was normally okay. Initially, I did my secondary and higher education in a medical side. And then I pursued this career, that is the commerce and business administration, specifically in the higher secondary school, where I realized that science is not a field for me, and I think I should perhaps enter into the commerce and business area. So I did my intermediate, that is the higher secondary schooling, in the field of commerce, and then I did my BBA and MBA from University of St. Jamshoro in the field of finance. And then after MBA, I did my PhD from University of Malaya, Malaysia, again in the field of finance.
So once you are done with your MBA, then you straight away went for PhD or started your I like started working somewhere.
After my PhD, I joined the same institute. I would like to say here that I did my PhD in 2005. And then for 2 years, I did teaching in a private institute. There, I used to teach the MBA courses. And then after 2 years, I joined the same university where I did my master's, that is graduation, the same institute, that is IBA University of St. Jamshoro, in 2007. It's September 2007. And I was appointed as a lecturer in the
Right.
same institute. And for about 6.5 years, I remained engaged in teaching field.
Right. Dr. Fiza, once you were done with your MBA or masters, then you decided to go for PhD while you were working in an university and institutions. So how was that journey to come to Malaysia to do your PhD? Because usually this part of the world, you are females, so sometimes the family members, you are going alone to do your PhD and all sort of things. So how was that balancing life between, the individual life, family at the same time, doing a PhD in a top university in Malaysia?
I think, first of all, I want to make one point before answering this question. That is, today's discussion is mainly helpful for all those researchers and scholars who are having a zero research background, or perhaps they are at the inceptive stage of research. Because my journey is more like, it's like similar. I had no research background when I joined University of Malaya as a PhD scholar in 2013. And honestly speaking, if I tell you that I did my master's in business administration, and my degree was based on coursework. So at that time, you can now understand that someone who is not an independent thinker, who is not an independent researcher, has never written a report or maybe a research article, uh, suddenly jumps up to a field where you find some of your peers or senior researchers or class fellows who are 3 or 4 steps ahead of you. So initially, it was really a disaster, I think, for me, because I remember you were also my class fellow in one course. It was a qualitative research methodology. I remember, and I used to imagine that, oh my God, there are senior researchers. There is Dr. Karim Baksha. There's another class fellow, if you remember. There was Hassan al Banna, and then there was Dr. Aftab, and there were many. And I think majority of my class fellows were already a good researcher. To some extent, they have experienced some research work, and I was the one having no research background at all. So I think today's discussion will definitely facilitate and motivate those scholars that no worries, not at no, not at all, no need to worry about. If you don't know research, you can learn it at any point or any stage of your life. It's okay. So for the your question, my experience initially when I joined as a PhD scholar in September 2013. For 6 months, honestly speaking, I was blank, dumb, and paralyzed. The reason I already told you. And I felt that I'm unable to do anything. There were three reasons I would like to state specifically. One reason is sometimes your approach also, because I felt that when I start comparing my class fellow and my peer, they were 3 or 4 steps ahead of me, and I felt, okay, oh my God, they know a lot of things and I don't know anything, so I cannot do anything. So I cannot do approach was really problematic for me, and that also didn't help me a lot. This was the first reason. Second reason is comparing your, I mean, peers or the class fellows in a negative way. You are comparing them that they are ahead of you and you are nothing in front of them. That comparison also created a problem for me. And the third is, of course, a lack of knowledge. So these three reasons uh, became my strength also. Now let me
Right.
repeat how these three reasons became my strength. uh, I changed the strategy after 6 months, that no problem, let's change, I can do strategy, like let's make it I can do approach. Because initially before 6 months I was saying that I cannot do it, but now I think that why can't I? Because these are, I mean, nobody is a born researcher. So you learn with the passage of time, and it's okay if you are learning it at this point. Let's start up. So this I can approach, or you can say the positive approach that I ingrained in my mind, and I started thinking, it really helped me. And then second is, now I'm coming towards the comparison. I think our youngsters and our, I mean, even our scholars, either it's a peer, whenever you are working, we do compare ourselves with our colleagues. It's a natural phenomenon. I think it's a human nature, you do compare it. But I take the comparison again in a positive way. So I started taking it in a way that let's make it a benchmark. For example, let's see Dr. Mehfooz Rahman. Oh, okay, he's a brilliant researcher and he's a very competent person, he's a competent guy. So what are the key, I mean, points that he has, or what are the key guidelines that he has adopted to reach it at that level? So let me discuss with him, and let me come to know the important key points that help him in getting and acquiring that success. So I set a benchmark. For example, let me try to strive. I try to be like Dr. Mehfooz. I try to be like Dr. Karim Baksh. I discuss with them a lot of things, that what are your, I mean, daily practices? How do you get into the research? How do you select the topic, etc. So I mean, I took them as a positive way. Okay, let me strive and let me reach to that level, and then hopefully I can also achieve that level. This is the second aspect. And the third is lack of knowledge. I think I worked double of what normally PhD scholar usually spend some time in doing research. The double of what means that I started reading notes, books, how to do the research, I used to spend a lot of time in extracting the data or material of doing research. I used to discuss with my colleagues. That really helped me. I mean, in getting insight into the research, and moreover, also the YouTube videos and the various websites facilitate. Nowadays, you would find that there are abundant research material available on the internet. I mean, it's the internal motivation really helped me to achieve to that level.
So,
And then I must give credit to my supervisor also. Of course, my main supervisor, she was very kind and supportive too. I think in during the PhD journey, what you need, what you require the most is your emotional support. So if you are emotionally stable, if you are relaxed, if you have a peace of mind, I think you can easily achieve the targets given to you.
right, Dr. Fiza,
Uh,
you,
so
yeah,
uh,
yeah, go on.
Uh, so uh, I want to give some of the key points, the key takeaways for the PhD journey, uh, because I have so far discussed that researcher, it's a journey from knowing nothing to knowing something. So I want to give suggestion to some of the scholars and the research fellow is that I think positive thinking is one of the key to achieve your targets, any kind of targets, not only the research targets, but even your job, even if your career targets. If you establish kind of a thing that yes, you can do it with your efforts and hard work, it's normally everything can be achieved. A kind of a researcher like me, who knows nothing, a journey from knowing nothing to knowing something, it's not a difficult, you can do it. And one second is, I think, faith and self introspection. Should have a belief that the target, the objectives that are given to you, somehow you can do it with the faith or self introspection. I'm talking about something which is maybe lots of people may not agree with it, but it's a bit spiritual. Your linkage with the god and your linkage with the nature, it facilitates you do. So I remember that if I used to pray a lot, and I had a self insight that if God has brought me to that place, definitely God has some objectives, or the inner capabilities that God has bestowed on me. Naturally, if I exert those inner capabilities, that will definitely help me out. So maybe, but I believe that a strong faith leads to the success. And then the third thing is, you need to search for the right direction. You initially are scattered because you, as a researcher and a new researcher, never know that what is the correct path and where to go. So I think, how can you search for the right direction when you discuss someone in your field or other than the field also, who knows more than you, who is a senior to you, either is a friend, class fellow, your supervisor, even a professor also. Because I had a lot of discussion with the professor in that field, and that really gave me an insight of getting started with. So discussion with the senior researchers and class fellows really helped me. And the last point which I would like to make is, second last point, uh, research is a slow and continuous process. I have seen a lot of impatient researchers. They believe that within a night they want to be a researcher. They wanted to publish in an impact factor journal. Still, I meet a lot of people who say that, please let me know any journal which published so quickly, and it should be a quality, it should be a good, from the good indexing. It should have a good indexing. It's a good impact factor journal. So I mean, these are very contrasting things. Like, if you are saying that you want a quick publication, but at the same time you desire to have a quality publication, it's really a contradictory statement. I believe that it's a slow and continuous process. Keep doing it, uh, no matter if it takes 1 year, 1.5 year, no issue. But I'm sure that you will learn something. And I believe that I'm still an emerging researcher, because it's still I'm just progressing. Every day I learn new things. Though I am a PhD and I've published a lot of research papers, but believe me or not, whenever I open up another article and I penetrate into another area, I learn something new. And so what I believe that it's a continuous process, never stop learning. And it's a slow, I mean, it's not something that within 2 or 3 months you will do some course and you will learn research. And then finally, for me, which really helped me, balanced and disciplined life. Like in Malaysia, alhamdulillah, I had a balanced and disciplined life. I had a proper schedule. I used to set a targets on me. uh, Maybe this kind of tip really helped me. If you have a balanced life, like for example, you said that at least day on daily basis you will spend about 7 to 8 hours in research, it's doable. And then some of the time that you will spend at your family, some of the time that you will spend for entertainment, you will give to your kids also. So I had a family and I brought my son over there in Malaysia. uh, but then I used to set a target on me that okay, at least I have to minimum spend 5 hours, and maximum can be beyond the 5 hours. So like 5 hours spending time is like and then following that routine, it really helped me. So if you are disciplined, if you are organized, and you have a balanced routine, like you wake up early in the morning and then you sleep on time, these things also do help. I think it's something generally I'm discussing. My some of the tips. Perhaps, hopefully, this will help facilitate the new researchers to in the field. Even though currently I'm an academician, I'm teaching, and at the same time I'm working in administration also. I had an additional post working as a director, student financial aid office in the same university. But believe me that even today also I set targets on myself, and I ask my question on daily basis, that whether I spare some time on research today. So currently I make up a target, like at least I spend 1 hour, I spare some 1 hour in research work. It could be either reading, it could be either writing, it could be reading or writing, but at least I should give 1 hour. And that 1 hour has, and consistency has really helped me in publishing the research papers even after my PhD journey.
Excellent, Dr. Fiza. I witnessed your journey, and it was wonderful. Seeing you around, running around for libraries and in all sort of departments. You are very active in nature, and I think that is one of the reason why you did well and where you are at the first place. So, Dr. Fiza, many people choose to be not coming to academia. They go to banking, they go to different industry, right? So at the first place, after MBA, you could have been gone to banking, you could have gone to some other multinational companies. So why you choose to be academician? What motivated you to be a lecturer at the first place?
uh, it's interest basically. I was more interested to the academia, uh, more interested to the teaching side since beginning, since my childhood also. Like my mother used to say that you used to be a teacher even when you were 4 years or 5 years old. You used to write something on the board. So somehow it's a heredity also, because I belong to a family where my mother, grandfather, even my maternal uncle, they were from the academic. They were from the academia, and they had an academic background. This was one of the reason also, and the second reason is my internal motivation. I think choose a field where you are motivated and interested to work. Either it's a banking or it's a teaching. Why? Because there's something when you are interested to, you would strive in a better way rather than something which is forced on you. A career which I have observed that some of the, class fellows of mine, they choose certain fields, but they were compelled by their parents. They were motivated by their friends, and later on they realized that they made a mistake, the career mistake. So I think if you have an interest and motivation in a particular in opting a particular career, you could do best in that field rather than choosing a field where a lot of public is running away. No matter if you are entering into the banking sector, but if you want to learn and you want to excel your skills and expertise over there, it comes from inside. To be very honest, if something done externally, it will not last. So this is the reason I choose this field. And after teaching 6 to 7 years, I realized that teaching is not sufficient. I think I need to indulge into the research world also, because to gain the career success, you need to come up with this world. I think without research, either you advance your career, or if you will not opt a research field, you may perish. So I realized that without the research, you cannot progress your career in the teaching field. This was the
Excellent.
motivation.
Excellent. Dr. Fiza, as we know that tens of thousands of papers are being submitted to journals across the world in a day. And when it comes to submission, I'll say it has leveled the world. But when it comes to acceptance, then sometimes we feel that it's not a level playing field for everyone, especially for the novice researcher. But of course, you made it to publish many articles in top ranked journal in SSCI or Scopus Index journal. So how did you make it? What was your
Uh,
strategy? Yeah.
okay. The first and foremost, which really helped me in writing a research paper, is reading. Honestly speaking, is the read, read, and read. And the extensive reading really helped me in establishing my writing skills. Uh, so I started writing a research paper with the reading practices. Initially, I inculcate the reading habits in my habit in my routine life, because I didn't have a good reading habits as well. So I used to read maybe one or two articles on daily basis, and then I increase the reading practices gradually. And I think for about 6 to 7 months, I spent a lot of time in reading. So in the reading, I not only gained a new unique idea, but also I came to know the research gap, that mostly we gain it from the literature review, and that is of course reading. And then I get an idea of how can I address that research gap from the literature review again. And the writing style, like you read a research paper of a good journal, so you come to know that the seasoned researchers, the renowned professors, how do they write. So and then I mean, as I was doing PhD from the finance and banking department, Institute of Business Administration, University of Malaya, we had one requirement of publishing either one research papers in SSCI index journal, or either we have two Scopus indexed publication. So this is one of the requirement also that compelled me that okay, I have to write a research paper and I have to submit it into the good journals and get it published before I appear into the thesis viva voce. So the first important thing which really helped is reading a lot, and that extensive reading. I can say that I read about 200 research papers, 200 plus research papers in my related to my field. And not only that, the extensive reading helped me in writing a thesis, but I have been able to publish 4 to 5 research papers from my thesis, plus 3 to 4 research papers they were related to the same field, and they were an extension of the original work. So reading really helped me in identifying the research gaps, and reading really helped me in publishing the research work of mine in reputable research journals. Uh, this is one strategy that I opted. And then second is, I think, not only reading, but I started writing also. I would like to give suggestion to my scholars and to all my researchers that do not procrastinate. Just sit down and start writing something, even if it looks ridiculous. It's okay. You One can get it checked from good researchers in your field, and slowly and gradually you improve your writing skills. And I think it's written that a science of writing research journal, I think it's not only a science, it's the art part too. Research is both science and art part. Science is what some theories, there are some scientific methodologies or the steps that you have to follow in research. That is absolutely fine. But the art part is doing it. If you cannot do it, you cannot learn research. Without doing it, you can never learn research. So you need to sit down and start writing something, even if it is a one page or if it is a 2 or 3 lines, even for the new researchers. I think that will really help. And slowly and gradually, that will help you to improve your writing skills. Uh, Okay, so these were the two important things which really helped me. And with the passage of time, and after getting a lot of feedback from my supervisor and from my colleagues also, I came up with a research paper and I submitted into the SSCI journal. And initially, honestly speaking, I had rejections, of course, and it's normal, it's okay. You may have a lot of rejections. As Dr. Mehfooz said that there are so many researchers in the world, they submit their research papers, and I think every researcher confront with this phase, that is the rejection phase. So about 10 to 11 times, I am confessing in this talk, it's like 10 to 11 times I had a rejection of my research paper, and that was what from the thesis work. And then I realized that I'm making one mistake. That is, for a researcher, one has to see the guideline, the scope of the journal. The correct selection of the journal also matters the most, and your topic and linking it with the scope and objectives of the research journal, it matters the most. uh, so the selection of the correct journal will help you to at least save you from the desk rejection, which is sometimes a little bit disappointing. So after analyzing this all, I submitted my first research paper into the investment analyst journal. But I have also observed one thing, that even after the clearance from the desk, you could receive a rejection at the third round of review as well. I have observed that thing as well. So, with having this fear, I wrote 2 or 3 research papers in addition to my original research paper.
Right.
And I submitted, before submission, I got a detailed review from one of the professor who is one of the seasoned researcher in my field, that is Dr. Ali Kotan. I sent him a research work of mine, and after getting his feedback, I incorporated the reviews suggested by him, and we submitted that research paper into Emerging Market Review, which is an A ranked journal as per the ABDC index,
Right.
and it's a Q1 SSCI index journal. Uh, and then simultaneously I submitted 2 or 3 more papers in some other journals too, which were SSCI. So I was thinking that at least, okay, I get one acceptance of from one acceptance from at least one research journal, and that could help me in getting and acquiring my PhD degree, because it was a kind of a pressure. But fortunately, all those 3 or 4 research papers which I submitted uh, got accepted. And the only thing is the continuous process, the writing skills which I learned with the passage of time. I was reading and writing, and I was getting it checked from my friends. Where there was my class fellow who was who was a senior researcher, Dr. Habib Hussain Khan. He also helped me a lot in understanding the idea or the skills or art of writing the research. So maybe it took about 1 year, you can say, at least in starting. If you say that at least you need to take 1 year in reading and writing, and then getting it checked from the professor, it's okay. And I was very patient in that point, that all right, if my work is being improved, I wanted to get it published in a journal, good journal. So before my Viva, I was able to publish one research paper in Investment Analyst Journal, and the another in same Emerging Market Review. And that was the key motivating point for me to work more and get my other research work published in a good journal.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Fiza. That was great to know from you the journey that you had and the ups and downs that you had, the rejections, the feel of having rejection, all sort of things that definitely gives a very steep curve to learn things. As we all know about the paper submission to journals has no national borders. So therefore, we can see the statistic says that that about 1.8 million research articles are being published every year. 1.8 million. So I was wondering, when you have millions of paper being published, so how do you find the emerging issues, the new issues? I mean, the new problems. So when it comes to finance, your area of research, so like financial markets, like exchange rate, and all sort of things, FDI. So how do you basically look for an issue that should be addressed, that should be in the use of the journal, that should be in the interest of the journal? Dr. Fiza, over to you.
Okay. My topic has been more on institutional investing and the financial market. And even my research papers are on mutual funds and the stock market returns and volatility at the macroeconomic level. So currently, I am still working in the same field, and what I observed is the financial market are highly volatile and fluctuating. Either it's a pandemic we have come across with recently. I've seen many studies where the current new emerging market, you can say, are facing this kind of jolts, the abrupt changes which are, occurring in the market, and that is external and internal as well. And currently, I see that the markets are quite highly interconnected, interdependent. It's because of the integration, the financial integration, the financial sorry integration and the globalization. uh, the markets do affect each other. It's and their risk also is affecting each other's market. The risk is spreadable. I have seen many studies where the researchers trying to determine whether there could be a kind of a security which could be proved to be a safe haven or hedge for the investors to save them from this unexpected jolts or abrupt changes, the financial turmoil that markets face. So, in this respect, I've seen some of the studies. For instance, if you'll talk about specifically of my field, institutional investing, specifically the mutual funds, there are some of the emerging issues related to the hedge fund, the exchange traded funds, whether they could facilitate the investors or provide some risk hedge against these financial volatilities which the emerging markets face. And basically, my own research work was on the emerging markets. Like most of the work was done on the developed economies, but uh, even my research also addressed this issue, that whether the same information or the same mechanism that is being adopted into the financial markets in the developed countries, is there any change in the emerging markets? And I find myself that there is a huge change. We don't have a systematic market structure, and asymmetric information is another issue which is being faced by the emerging economies. So I would suggest that these emerging scholar researchers should do research in that area, where they could provide or they could give some policy guidelines to the makers, the practitioners, about how to save the investors from these unexpected risk or the volatilities of fluctuations that are being faced in the investors or the portfolio managers in from the emerging market.
Right. Uh,
And then, yes, and then I have seen some of the research in green technology also, like green funds, green bond, and green mutual funds. Even though these are some of the areas where the researchers have found that they do provide some cover to the financial turmoil or the disaster. The worsening marketing condition could be saved from these safe financial securities. Over to
Uh,
you.
Excellent, Dr. Afiza. That was wonderful of having some light on the area that should be, looking at or investigated on. Dr. Afiza, we noticed that you do have, I would say, very strong network. You work with people. You have colleagues. You have friends. You have seniors that we can see from your paper as well. So you are well connected. So how do you value the connections, the network, to do better in academia?
Okay, I already have said in my journey to PhD that these networking really helped me. I think that even networking when you are even a PhD scholar, and later on when you have done your PhD, and now you are a budding researcher and you're trying to excel your career, of course, networking gives you a wide approach, something that you would individually do, but if you do it into the group, it facilitates you in sharing knowledge also. It facilitates you in, receiving a lot of new ideas or information or new areas that you may not receive it within your domain or within your department. And then learning from their experiences or ideas, learning from their skills also really helps you keep going. uh, if you have a hectic busy life, like you might have witnessed that I am working with some of the collaborators, uh, we get our work divided also. Though we all are busy, but it helps you in achieving your targets. The teamwork, I think, really facilitates you in a lot of things, in executing your work, in brainstorming, in getting more ideas, and in learning from the skills of your peer. So I think at this moment, wherever, at whatever the stage you are, either you are at the initial stage of PhD, I would suggest that you should establish a good networking with your class fellow, with your peers of your same field, in if your professors also, because I think professors are senior to you and they know they have an idea that a kind of a topic that I'm working on could be published into this journal, and they have already worked and their experiences really helps you going or achieving your research objectives. And then I would say that, like for instance, I've been able to publish 3 or 4 research papers into the A ranked journal. It's only basically because of the advice by the professors, because they know already that this, for instance, my topic was on mutual funds and the stock market volatility, and that was on the Asian emerging market. So right away my professor said that this topic could be bought by the editor from emerging market review. Like on the spot he told me, and without wasting his time I just listened his suggestion, and I submitted my research paper. And of
Right.
course it saved you from the rejection, it saved you from wasting a lot of time. So
Right.
these things really helps you in achieving your research targets.
That was excellent, Dr. Fiza. Dr. Fiza, we are running out of time, so we'll not be asking more questions. Rather than we'll be taking some questions from the floor. We'll be taking some questions from the comments. Let's take the first question. Um, this is Dr. Abdul Kalam Siddiqui from Japan. He said nowadays it is believed that the person has, if the person has a company experience and then he switched to academia, he or she would be more valuable in academia. Mr. What would be your thought on that?
I agree with him to some extent. Of course, nowadays, if we see academia, they do prefer some corporate experience from the researchers or the teaching side. And recently, I've attended one workshop that was on teaching based on case study, And the case-based teaching, what I've observed, can be easily taught if someone who has a good experience, a strong background of the corporate sector. So that is absolutely fine. To some extent, there are some of the companies, or there are some of the institutes also, they do prefer that someone who is an academician should have some corporate I mean background from the corporation side or from the firm. uh, but I think, okay, this is not only the case. There could be, I have seen some of the other researchers as well, uh, who do not have any experience from the corporate side, but still they are excelling. And it's only because of their passion to learn more. Maybe they are in touch or updated with the latest policies or strategies opted by the firms. They are in touch with the people from the corporate sector. There are many people who are writing the case based articles, but they are not from the corporate side. So they have a good networks with the professionals from the companies. This is how you can also get insight, and you can impart that kind of knowledge to your students or to your researchers.
Right. I
Thank
hope
you.
he got his answer, and it was a very timely questions that people do ask about these issues a lot. Or if you don't have industry experience, will you be able to do well in academia? I think there's a
Exactly.
thin line between this, academia and industry. Of course, there is no exact answer, I guess. So it
Yeah.
depends. It depends. If you are very good in industry, but then you come to academia, but you don't work, you don't try, you don't work for it. So then it will not work. So I think there are issues there.
That's why to some extent I supported, and I, you might have seen that I do not exactly, not everywhere. The companies do, it's like a value addition, you can say. It's like an
Right,
additional skill that you have if
right,
you have industry exposure. But if
right,
you don't have, still you can do the best.
right.
It's fine.
But I think if we have both, then
Yeah.
that might help a lot, because you got a
Exactly.
first-hand experience how the reality works and what is the true impact of our academic research. Sometimes we don't really focus on the impact, rather we go on for research. So
Exactly.
if we know the industry, then we might know whether this research has any implication to the industry or not, right? So we'll go for the next question, which is the Dr. Fiza, if you take that one, do Pakistan has any central plan regarding research excellence? I appreciate that Pakistan institutions are doing better in researching research indicators in the recent past. You got some good institution like Qaid Al Azam University.
Qaeda Azam University. Yeah.
Yes. So how do you put some thought on it?
Yeah, some of the institutes like Sakkar IBA, we have definitely Qaeda Azam University. We have Lahore University of Management Science. There are some of the institutes, they have, of course, a central plan regarding excelling into the research. And even our top governing authority, that is Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, they are spending a lot of money in sending the researchers abroad to get the skills or the knowledge in the research field. And I was also one of the scholar who was fully funded from the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. It was basically a faculty development program from our university via Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, Islamabad. And the plan is that the country initially, I think it is like in 2008, they have started establishing this plan that more and more PhD scholars should go abroad and do their PhD, and bring that knowledge back to the country and serve it over here as an academician researchers, and impart that same knowledge to the youngsters or to the students over here in the institutes.
Right.
So I think since I think from 2008, I believe, I've seen a lot of research culture that has emerged recently, and there are many researchers that are excelling into this market currently. And I think nowadays in teaching career, one cannot progress without having a good sound research background.
Right. Yes, you are there and wonderfully address the issues. And I believe that this part of the world will be growing more about research. That is, I think, one way to go on with or compete with the world. Dr. Fiza, if you notice, there are many well wisher. You turn out to be a very popular teacher. That's how they say it. They are very popular teacher. So I believe that would be a proud part of UM as well. That you are doing great out there. So we have another question from the floor. Um, my question is, which field more beneficial for MBA student and how to choose the field? If I guess if yeah,
Yeah, it's a field. Yeah, it's
right,
a typo mistake maybe.
right.
Uh, for the MBA student, my answer is same. Maybe perhaps you may add something to this question. Uh, Either it's a field or it's a job, even it's a career. Uh, it's it's uh, it's only an interest. If you have an interest in either HRM or it's a marketing or it's a finance, in either of the case, just go ahead and try to get more knowledge, penetrate in that particular field deeply. This will help you a lot in achieving your goals, objectives. You are skilled, you are knowledgeable, if you are expert in a field, I'm sure you'll never be a jobless. And you will never sit idle at your home. You need to get expertise into the particular field. uh, and As far as in Pakistan it's concerned, I've seen that there are it varies from city. If we have metropolitan city, I've seen there are lots of job opportunities into the HR field and into the marketing side. uh, but for the finance, I think so. If you opt for the finance, it's blood of the organization. So there is a need and desire everywhere. And then, based on the scope currently, you need to determine where you want to do a job. Either it's you want to go abroad or you are within the country. You need to determine where you will stay in a particular area or a particular part of the country. There you can determine that which area or field are more desirable. But at the end also, if you are not having any interest, you are not motivated to do certain tasks, and you compel yourself, you won't be able to establish an interest, you won't be able to get expertise in that particular field, and ultimately it may prove to be a failure in your career. So I believe that first of all, try to determine your interest, get maximum knowledge and expertise in that particular field, and I'm sure that you will never be disappointed by opting this approach. Thank you.
Right. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, what Dr. Fiza has shared tonight probably is nothing very new, but I'm sure it's a very worthy to listen. It's very worthy to remind ourselves the way a journey, a unique journey that you may not get it from other people, because each and every one of us having a different journey. Each and every one of us having a different story. So the way she met it, the way she has overcome the challenges that she started from the first day, starting his journey in Malaysia, and she overcome, and now she is the proud owner or author of several, I would say, A category journal, which is a good achievement for in the area of finance. And I'm sure that would make things better. We would take the last question and then we go off. Um, yes. Anyone
And
who have researched area of stock market in this past postgraduate,
postgraduate.
then should he continue his same field in the PhD or skip the another field? Uh, if you get that
Uh,
question.
Okay,
Right.
I think he's my student, Suraj. He's asking question that research area of stock market. I think finance, I would say, because
Right.
stock market is a part of portfolio and financial market, and financial markets come up under the head of finance field. And then he's asking that if you would like to skip. Uh, this is Thank you so much for asking this question. No, I think no, because it's you can say that it's not positive sign in the career. If it's the same like you change a lot of jobs, like for 1 year you remained in one company and then in the second year. So it shows that still you are not clear about your particular dimension or the guidelines or the path that you should work on. So same applies to the research field also. There are many students I've seen that they do their masters in HRM and then they do their MPhil in marketing and then they do their PhD in finance. I have also come across with some of the organization within the country and foreign also. They do ask this question, that whether you have a research background or an academic background or having a same field, expertise in a single field shows your consistency also, and it shows your potential to work into that particular area. I think it also applies to the research paper also. For instance, if you have research paper into the financial market, and on the other side you have the research paper from the dividend policy, and then third times we see the research paper, it is possible. But for a good researcher, if you want to see that someone who is a good researcher, you can check his or her profile and see whether he has research papers into the particular dimension or domain. It shows that someone who is really an expert and who is a genuine researcher and working into the particular field. So I think that for the students, it's okay if you switch on, if you want to switch towards the another field, that is it's a good option, it's not a problem. But the problem is that it does put a question mark into your CV, into your profile. And most of the organization which I've come across with, where I've also personally given the interview, they do ask the question that why you change that area and why you change that field or why you remain into the same field. uh, so I believe that try to stick into that particular area and focus in that particular area and go deeply in that area. It will give you more idea and knowledge also, and it will increase your expertise in that field. That's
Uh,
my personal opinion.
Great, great. Dr. Fiza, with your permission, can I take the last question? Because
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
is
sure,
asking us,
sure.
we want to get that answer about a market. Is a doctor to be, no, MD Shohel Rana. So how would you evaluate the financial market of Pakistan, and how would you suggest policies from the outcomes of your research to grow better in future, if you have any?
uh, uh, for the financial market in Pakistan, w- there are two or three things which I noticed. We have a system uh, which has a lot of which is externally affected, you can say. Pakistani market has been prone to the political jolts also, the governance, the news from the foreign affairs, the global economies also. And the you can say that there have been a lots of market crashes that has Pakistani financial market, specifically the stock market, has witnessed, and which shows that there is a need to have a proper prudent mechanism or system which needs to be incorporated by the government to control these unexpected shocks, which is really devastating for the small investors or for the individual investors comparatively to the institutional investors. And moreover, it was observed also in my research also that majority of the shares are being owned by the institutional investors. We have like 70 to 80% approximately ratio, which is being governed by the institutional investors. So
Right.
institutional investors run the market, uh, and the individual or the small savers are reluctant to invest in the markets because of the high risk factors, which I think normally not only in Pakistan but other emerging markets do face this kind of issue. So a proper prudent mechanism, the vigilance and the policies could help to restore the confidence by the small investors or from the savers, and we could increase the number of shareholdings from them. Number one. Number two is uh, Pakistan financial markets do not have a proper derivative market, the derivative securities, other options given to hedge. diversify or safe haven strategies, except the gold market or maybe the foreign exchange market, but that is not within that stock market. That is not for the stock market investors. So overall, what I observed that there was a huge volatility of fluctuations, and which really shattered the confidence of the investors. And the government could play a lot of role in protecting those small investors, and for the policymakers and the managers, they could announce securities or the other options or alternatives, which could provide benefit to the small investors particularly, and that could increase the holdings in the current platform.
Excellent, Dr. Fiza. On behalf of Linkwith Research and Training Center, I, Mahfuz, would like to send you tons of best wishes for your future life. Grow like a star, and I would say conquer the world, do a better work, and for the society and for the country, and definitely for the world. So we all are working towards creating a research culture. One of the objectives for Linkwith Research and Training Center is basically to promote a research culture this part of the world. So we invite scholars from different part of the world, different nationalities, to promote research culture. It's not only for a particular country, but it's also for the whole world. So I wish to have you again for different purpose, for different capacities, for webinars and some others. With that note, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for joining this evening, and the audience, the ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us. Thank you so much for watching, and we are very delighted to have you on our show as well. So keep watching, and if you have any questions, if you have any further queries, please drop a message to Linkwith Research and Training Center. You can follow us, you can like our page, and definitely you'll get all the activities. We have a weekly show called Scholar Alaf, which is on air every Friday night, 10 p.m. Malaysian time. So you can join us by just clicking the follow or like the page. So with that note, I thank you all for joining, and I definitely thank Dr. Fiza for joining and for the time. Stay safe, stay
Thank you.
blessed. See you next Friday at 10 p.m. Malaysian time. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.